Before I delve into this addendum, there has been some news on the Alex Jones versus Chobani yogurt case. According to the New York Times,
Alex Jones retracts Chobani claims to resolve lawsuit.
Jones stated,
during the week of April 10th, 2017, certain statements were made on the InfoWars Twitter feed and YouTube channel regarding Chobani LLC that I now understand to be wrong. The tweets and video have now been retracted and will not be reposted. On behalf of InfoWars, I regret that we mischaracterized Chobani, its employees, and the people of Twin Falls, Idaho, the way we did.
If you remember, Chobani had filed a lawsuit against Mr. Jones on April 24th, claiming that he had posted false and defamatory news reports about the company and its founders. So basically, once again, just like Pizzagate, Jones has been told to shut the fuck up. So, this is sort of an add-on to the preceding Twat episode. If you remember, I started with Susan Humphreys, basically where she implied, fuck 'em, they will die anyways mentality. Then I followed with Mo Brooks' statement of good lives produce good health, basically a recasting of the prosperity gospel. In other words, health equals wealth. Now we have this.
White House says diabetics don't deserve health care.
Before we delve into that morass, I want to ask y'all a question. And I really want you to seriously ponder that question. Is healthcare, and by proxy healthcare insurance, a right? In other words, who is responsible for your healthcare? Or can it even be asked in that manner? Are you responsible, or is somebody else? Now, I want you to bear in mind that without insurance, the chances of maintaining a good relationship with your provider is zilch, unless you are able to pay full cost out of pocket, and that includes all labs and testing, x-rays, MRIs, PET scans, CAT scans, etc., etc. Medications, biggie on that list, and specialist visits as well. We all know ultimately we are responsible to the best of our ability for our own health. But what if, like me, you are poor? Should I, like so many others, be thrown to the curb and die because we can't afford health care? And you can put a causal link to whatever demographic you would like because they will all fit. In considering this question, I want you to take this to task. Should we ignore one of the Constitution's fundamental purposes and guiding principles as described in the preamble, to promote the general welfare of the nation? Should we ignore that in 1948 the United States, along with 47 other nations, signed the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of persons. That's Article 3. As well as, quote, everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. That's Article 25. Or should we ignore the 2005 World Health Assembly Resolution 5833, which was also signed by the U.S.? Quote, universal coverage is defined as access to key promotive, preventative, curative, and rehabilitative health intervention for all at an affordable cost, thereby achieving equity in access. The principle of financial risk protection ensures that the cost of care does not put people at risk of financial catastrophe. That notion, expressed there in 2005, was reiterated in 2013. Quote, to support the goal of universal health coverage is also to express concern for equity and for honoring everyone's right to health. These are personal and moral choices regarding the kind of society that people wish to live in, taking universal coverage beyond the technicalities of health financing, public health, and clinical care. Now keep in mind, these are statements the United States, as part of the UN, etc., have signed on to. They have agreed to these goals. So I ask again, is healthcare and health insurance a right? A necessary foundation of a just society? The United States already provides public education. We provide public law enforcement. We provide public road maintenance and many, many other public services to its citizens to promote a just society that's fair to everyone. Healthcare needs to be part of that list. And it's an idea that our courts have firmly supported. The final cog, so to speak, would be the King-Burwell decision in 2015, where Chief Justice John Roberts concluded in part that Congress passed the law to improve health insurance markets, not to destroy them. Quote, a fair reading of legislation demands a fair understanding of the legislative plan. Congress passed the Affordable Care Act to improve health insurance markets, not to destroy them. If at all possible, we must interpret the Act in a way that is consistent with the former and avoids the latter. Section 36B can fairly be read consistent with what we see as Congress's plan, and that is the reading we adopt. So, this whole question of whether it's a right has been around for a long time. But it really kind of exploded of late after Jimmy Kimmel's episode in which he did a monologue concerning his son who went through a health scare. Kimmel brings up a good point. His son, if the American Health Care Act passes, would now be considered to having a pre-existing condition. Bill Cassidy, in interviews following, takes advantage of Kimmel's monologue, so to speak, to push his notion of reform or repeal. He and Susan Collins have a bill pending also for reforming healthcare. Okay, so far so good. Cassidy then goes on to say he would only vote for repeal if the law passed the Jimmy Kimmel test. In other words, pre-existing conditions were covered. Where the wheel falls off the buggy, remembering Mo Brooks's comment, good lives produce good health, Budget Director Mick Mulvaney, speaking at a light forum at Stanford University in California, stated this, quote, I do think it should meet that test, referring to the Kimmel test. We have plenty of money to deal with that. We have plenty of money to provide that safety net so that if you get cancer, you don't end up broke. That is not the question. The question is, who is responsible for your ordinary health care, you or somebody else? And yes, this is where I got that question to pose. Mulvaney goes on. That doesn't mean we should take care of the person who sits at home, eats poorly, and gets diabetes. Is that the same thing as Jimmy Kimmel's kid? I don't think that it is. End quote. Now I want you to think about what he said. Sorry to say, Mr. Director, I got fucking type 2 diabetes because it's bleed my psych meds fucked up my innards, causing a malfunction. Packing on 100 pounds because of the medication probably didn't help either. So I substituted my will to live for a lifetime of possible complications if not treated properly. So yeah, I take offense that I just sit home stuffing myself with potato chips. I don't even eat potato chips. They're gross. Further, your notion of diabetes is wrong. As the American Diabetes Association has noted in response to your statement, quote, Mr. Mulvaney's comments perpetuate the stigma that one chooses to have diabetes based on his or her lifestyle. We are also deeply troubled by his assertion that access to health care should be rationed or denied to anyone. All scientific evidence indicates that diabetes develops from a diverse set of risk factors, genetics being the primary cause. People with diabetes need access to affordable health care in order to effectively manage their disease and prevent dangerous and costly complications. Nobody should be denied coverage or charged more based on their health status. So, a subsequent question needs to be asked. Should we stop paying car insurance? Or opt out of Social Security? See, they are based on the exact same notion as the mandate y'all like to bitch about. And just for shits and giggles, this is a typical libertarian-leaning right-wing response to whether health care is a right or not. Quote, there is a big difference between a need and a right. Healthcare is a basic need that everyone is free to pursue. This means that the government cannot infringe on our right to pursue healthcare, but no one owes us healthcare. Healthcare is a good, just like food, clothing, and shelter. Positive rights contradict the very notion of rights. The so-called right to health care infringes on negative rights by imposing forceful obligations on taxpayers and health care providers. What about the right of the taxpayer to keep the fruits of his own labor? Should a doctor ultimately decide who he treats, or should he be forced to treat everyone whether he likes it or not? To say that we have a right to someone else's time and services takes us back down a dark path in American history. A right is not something someone gives you, it's something that no one can take away. Would you like to talk death panels now? Well, it was Mulvaney's statement that piqued my ire. I have come to realize that this fuck 'em attitude basically is the norm. While it should not surprise me, given the current climate being fomented out of DC, it's despicable. Just to give you an idea, here's a few more examples. Robert Pittenger of South Carolina, according to New York Mag's The Intelligencer,
GOP congressman says sick people who lose affordable health coverage should just move.
quote, but North Carolina Republican Representative Robert Pittenger was similarly cavalier about people with pre-existing conditions who might lose affordable coverage if their state chose to waive protections for them under the terms of the revised American Health Care Act that the White House and Republican congressional leaders are trying to get through the House today. People can go to the state they want to live in. States have all kinds of different policies, and there are disparities among states for many things. Driving restrictions, alcohol, whatever. We're putting choices back into the hands of the state. That's what Jeffersonian democracy provides for. Back to the mag. Seems Pittenger thinks the sick should vote with their feet, or their other afflicted parts, to live in a place that doesn't view their health as a disposable asset.
Get those people off of Medicaid. Tom Cotton says able-bodied poor people don't deserve welfare.
This is from Raw Story, basically describing a discussion he was having with Jake Tapper. Cotton declared that many people on Medicaid should be purchasing their own insurance instead. Medicaid is a welfare program. It's primarily designed for the indigent, elderly, the disabled, the blind, and children. people he wants to kick off, by the way. It's not designed for able-bodied adults. We want to get those people off of Medicaid and into a job and into market-based insurance. Now, one caveat to Cotton's remarks. He did add this. The Arkansas Republican argued that Ryan's health care bill needed to do a better job bringing down premiums so that poor people could afford to buy insurance. Since that's not going to be happening anytime soon, it's a pipe dream on Cotton's part. I would really also like to know what his definition of indigent actually is, because he contradicts himself. Anywho, these are people y'all elected, and I don't mean the choir that I normally preach to. I'm talking directly to the deplorables here. Think about it, people. What if it was your child, or your mom, or your dad that they were talking about? How would you feel? Me, I'm pretty fucked off. My diabetes was not a choice. It happened. I deal with it. I'm just asking for a little help in dealing with it. Is that a problem?